My name is Barry Siegel. I grew up in Dorchester and Newton, and I worked hard as a dentist for 30 years before I retired. And I was an avid bike rider, and I used to do a lot of riding every week, so I was in good shape and I really enjoyed the exercise. One morning I was biking to meet these friends that I always met at 6 o'clock to do another ride, and I got hit by a car. She never saw me, and I fractured my C1, C2 vertebrae, which began a whole new life, and we call it life number 2. After I got hurt, obviously, I was very interested in what I could do to cure myself. And I had a good friend whose wife was active in Hadassah, which donates a lot of money to the Hadassah Hospital in Israel. And they were doing a lot of work with human embryos because they didn't have the same rules as we have here. And I ended up meeting this guy, Ben Rubinoff, and then I wanted to hook him up with somebody else. My daughter happened to be a resident at Dana-Farber, and when I told her that I wanted somebody, she said, "There's only one man you can call, and that's Dr. Daly. He is the smartest guy I ever met." I told him what I wanted to do, and he said that he knew Dr. Rubinoff very well from an international society that he had been president of, and that he could work with him. He was an excellent researcher, and that their two approaches would dovetail perfectly, each one doing a separate part of it. I chose Children's Hospital primarily because of the references I got about Dr. Daly. But then after he introduced me to Len Zahn and showed me how all the different experiments that were going on at Children's were dovetailed together, I became even more impressed and more invigorated to help raise as much money as I could. After we first met George, he told me that he wanted to take a biopsy of my skin. He told me how he was going to clean out the nuclei of these skin cells so that they would be available to be implanted with embryonic stem cells that would be grown in Israel. George's goal is to be able to take cells from any part of the body and clean them out and put in pieces of heart cells or spinal cord cells, whatever needs to be done. But because of the previous administration, money was withheld and there weren't many human embryonic stem cells available. And even though Children's has been given a large line of these cells, and George's goal is to not need human embryonic cells, he still calls human embryonic cells the gold standard by which everything else has to be measured. I think it's very important that everybody in America know that stem cell research is not only the cure for spinal cord injury, but also for many other diseases, including MS, ALS, and others. But specifically in my case, there are 10,000 people suffering spinal cord injury every year, and every family is going to be touched by some kind of life-changing event. And the work that can be done with stem cell research includes all sorts of children's leukemias and anemias and heart problems, and I don't know how many others, but it's a topic that is so important to the medical community and to the public at large.
We've taken skin cells from Barry and turned them back into the embryonic stem cells in a petri dish. We are now sharing those cells with scientists in Israel.
Stem cell science is really about an international collaboration. Work that you see from our laboratories, such as what George has said about Barry's cells going to Israel, illustrates how we're hoping to worldwide solve the biology of stem cells and use them for therapies.